Hello everyone, welcome to the August edition of Business Games. Today we are up for a treat. Our guest and facilitator is Keith Delmar. Keith is an amazing personality. He brings sunshine everywhere he goes. He is the latest winner of 10th Startup Weekend, and he took home $10,000 and the main prize and the bragging rights. Keith is also a serial startupper, and he's also an amazing promoter and marketer, and he has so many different talents that I hope you will learn about today.
Hi, my name's Keith Delmar. My name wasn't originally Keith Delmar, it was Keith Delaney. But if you want to change your life, you change your name. And I got married, and I took the first part of, my wife and I took the first part of my name, Delaney, D-E-L, and the first part of her name, Martin, and called ourselves Delmar. So that's where Delmar, but it also means of the sea. So today I'll be talking to you about two subjects which I'm really passionate about, and Olena artistically put them together for me, which is mental well-being and business and life. I often think about life balance as often being spoken about as work-life balance. However, it's life balance, right? It shouldn't be set. Work is just a part of life, or the creative works or office work or whatever kind of work we're doing is just a part of life. So today I've decided to put up 16 or 17 topics. If you scan the Slido, you'll be able to choose what we talk about today. Because I am a neurodiverse creative dyslexic, and that means I haven't planned for today at all, except for doing this. And also, I'm really passionate about all these topics. So I'll do my best to make a coherent talk with you guys, because I need your involvement to make this all happen. We have a little game at the end. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about life balance, keeping all of our tanks full. We're going to be talking, will it fail? And this is about going after the big dream, the one you talk about but you'll never do. And then vulnerability is a strength. Ooh, yay, that's fun. And then the next one on the list, hold it lightly. Ooh, I love that one too. And the joy working at work. Okay, great. We're gonna be having some fun today. So I might not get through all of those first 5, but we're gonna try, right? Because that's a lot. But we're gonna talk about each one because you guys chose this, it's your talk, so I want to hear from you as well about how it's going. So we'll start off with life balance and keeping all your tanks full, because if you're running a business or you're starting a business and you're doing life and you might have a day job or other commitments, it is really important to keep balance in our life. The idea around having a balance in our life is really important, and when you're out of balance, when I'm out of balance, I definitely feel it. And so what does balance look like for me? So balance is, I'm going to actually shut this down now, and I'm just going to look at my computer. We don't need that. Thank you. What we need for balance in our lives is, one, this little thing that's going to come up over and over in this talk, and you've heard about it, it's around self-awareness. It's around awareness of what's going on for you and around you. So for me, keeping my tanks full, the number one tank that I never let go dry is sleep. Is my own, I've practiced, I've tried staying up late, I've tried waking up really, really early. The early bit does work for me personally. If I really need to get something done, I can wake up at 4 or 3 and get it done. But I keep that precious tank full, because having small children, I know that when that tank goes low, it's very detrimental in terms of my mental health and my mental well-being. So the other aspect of keeping well, and the tanks that I'm talking about, is my physical body, like my overall health. What I put into my body, the food that I eat, how I move my body, super important tank. Relationships, how am I engaging in those relationships in my life? And then of course, what am I doing creatively? I'll go one by one really quickly through these, and then we'll talk about them. So food have been really important part of my lifestyle, has been food all along. When I was 18 years old, I was twice the size I am now and really sick. I grew up in America. We had Taco Bell and Pizza Hut and McDonald's galore and the BK. And Yeah, I ate a lot of food that didn't make me well. At 20 years old, I realized that I was really sick and pneumonia every year, bronchitis every year. I wasn't a high-functioning human specimen. And I changed it. I became a vegetarian, just thought I'd try that, and years of iteration of trying different things. Now I eat beautiful whole food that my wife cooks a lot of food. She makes home-baked bread. I thrive when I eat lots of salads and grapefruit and things like that. And I know what my body wants. So what we put into our body, the fuel, as you will know, and I want to hear, and actually I'll just pause right here. Like, does anybody have a story about a feeling that you get when you eat certain foods in terms of the productivity and how you feel afterwards? Are you the same superhuman that you are today when you go out and have a bender or whatever they call it, or eat lots of fried foods? Anybody have an experience that they want to share? Go ahead.
So I have a couple of intolerances, and I didn't know about them until my mid-20s, one of them until I was 40, so even worse. And I would have every afternoon, 2 o'clock, I could fall asleep and not wake myself up. Like I would literally fall asleep in lectures. And then as soon as I figured out what those intolerances were, normal people live like this. They got this clarity in their mind, because I never had it. I had my entire life feeling tired, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, some food just doesn't agree with you.
Yeah.
And you gotta go what it is.
Food affects mood. And so one thing that I hope you take away from today, just one, is that, and you can take whichever one of these things you want to, but this one is helpful for me, in that it is a cliche journey, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. And I am still on my food journey of learning what I like to eat, how it makes me feel. I've started eating pepper at 46. I've never ate pepper before in my life. I was like, oh, I'm Irish. I'm not actually Irish. The bloods came back. I'm Scottish, but whatever. So the important bit is to know that there's an opportunity there to explore and be curious. Curiosity is super key. I'll go on to the relationships one, because that's a fun one. Anybody who in a relationship, whether it's with a spouse or a partner or married or with kids, these are all relationships at work, relationships with clients. I read once that relationships are the most difficult part of life, and I think I would have to agree, because it's such an interesting cocktail of communication, balancing that with empathy and sympathy and just curiosity and listening, which I'm really good at talking. I've had to learn how to listen, and had to learn how to listen to even or be aware of what my behavior. So in our relationships, in my relationships, and for me, what I've found, and let's see if we get to it, we didn't get circle of calm, but I'll still talk a little bit about it, is being in my center. I often call it being in my center, being in my calm place, allows me to communicate better. If I'm in my center, if I'm keeping my boundaries, which I'm not great at, that's a huge practice area, especially with kids. I'm like boundaryless for my children. They bound in past the boundaries, I pick them up and we play all day. No, I'm learning boundaries continually. Boundaries in relationship, boundaries with people, boundaries at work, which we'll get to. And for me, having that center point in my life of inside me, that quiet spot, has allowed me to have better relationships with those outside me. It's those classic things that you'll read in self-help books, which are first, love yourself, put on your mask in the airplane, then put on the mask on everybody else. Really important parts of staying mentally well. It's just finding that center, whatever that means for you, whether it's walks, meditation, time alone, talking to your partner and creating a boundary. The suggestion here is that if you're a person that needs lots of time by yourself, make sure the person that you're with knows that. Be honest about that. If you've ever had those conversations, let's say with a partner or in a relationship, and things get so much better after that hard conversation, after that awkwardness. And that is how it works. It can't happen every night, because that takes a lot of emotional energy to have that big discussion. But after that big discussion comes up, after we share vulnerably, after we get into it, the next day there's a lift in my energy. And so I imagine it works pretty similar for others. So I'll go on to creativity next, because personally, I think creativity helps me so much show up as I am and show up mentally well. One day I realized that actually I needed to make daily TikToks in order to be mentally well. Okay, that sounds completely random, right? It was a period in my life. It lasted 6 months. I've deleted TikTok off my phone. I still have an account, so you can go watch the videos if you like. But it was good for those 6 months because it gave me an outlet. I'm a person that thinks a lot. I think about a lot of these concepts around mental wellness and business, and I needed to share it creatively. I needed to sing, right? I think personally we all have a song in us and we need to sing. However, that is just an analogy. When I was singing every morning, it felt amazing. Not every day. Some of the days were annoying, but halfway through the day, I knew that I sang earlier. Even though it wasn't perfect, even though I just got out a message, I got on TikTok, I shared my love with the world. Like, that's what I'm here for, that's my jam. And so, how did I make that happen? Well, I carved out a very small piece of time. So I cycle to work every day. And I thought, well, if I'll cycle to work, I'll get off my bike, and then I'll make the video. And this did more than one thing. One, it was this little gap of time before I had to take my shower and get to work. But it allowed me to show up with this, I just had a high vis and a helmet on. And I thought, great, the costume, it's done. I don't have to do my hair. I don't have to worry about the way I look because I'm a guy who just got off a bike. And that can mean whatever it wants for anybody. And I thought, great. And that got me over the mental barriers. So I did a few things. I found a time. I got over anything that was mental barrier for me to pick up the camera and start making a video. And at that time for me, it was, oh, how am I gonna look? What's the video gonna look and sound like? Well, that's easy, I got microphones, I'll make it sound good, but what is it gonna look like? And I just ticked those off, just quietly, in my notebook, in the morning and at night, just calmly journaling, ticking these little things off and then giving it a try. And it worked. Did it for 6 months, it was great. Then I changed my schedule at work. Now I work 9 hours a day, so I can get every other Friday off, including this one. And I don't do TikToks anymore in the morning because I spend that time with my kids. And I don't want to miss out on, even the smallest moment with them. So keeping your tanks full is really important. And in my life, even though I want to run businesses and I want to do a lot of things, I have to be realistic. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to give you what my life is right now, just a snapshot, because that's what's important, right? I'm going to be talking a little bit about now today, because right now, I work full time. I have a 40, 50 hour a week job where I work in digital and web at PowerCo. I've got 2 kids, an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. They are full of energy and need time, and everything past 5 o'clock is pretty much theirs until they go to sleep. I don't use laptops or phones at night because it kills my melatonin, and I'm not going to do that to myself, and that has definitely brought in some really good health for me. I have just won Report Q. We run the startup weekend, so I've started another business called Report Q. I'm not going to explain what that is, you can ask me later. But I also, at the same time, just feeling so inspired by my entrepreneurial tasks, I started calculated.co.nz and click-to-submit.it, 2 other websites that I'm working on in the background. This happens during my lunch break, this happens at 5 a.m., happens anytime I can buzz my brain on it. Now, I'm not going to be doing that all the time, forever, but it's what's giving me energy and what's exciting me right now. And so I'm honoring what excites me right now. Life can be really full, but even though I'm doing all of those things, I have to keep the relationships good, I have to keep the food that I'm eating, I have to keep sleeping well, and I have to just make sure I'm talking to myself really healthily and with lots of love. I'm gonna give you a perfect example of how all of those tanks can help me, get through things. So yesterday, I had a perfect example, and I was so happy. It actually helped me get out of the hole, because last night I realized that it was Thursday. Yes, it was Thursday. Guess what happened on Wednesday? Wednesday, there was a meetup, and it was the Startup Reunion meetup, where I was asked to speak. And I had talked to my wife and I said, Marie, you all good? I know it's another night of the week and nights are precious for us. I was gonna speak at this thing. Yep, cool, got the okay. Did I put it in my calendar? Nah, I didn't. Where was I? Where was Keith? Xavier, my backup, was there. He was there. But it left so little time, and I realized I missed it, and I was gutted. I was just like, asked to speak. Keith loves to speak. Keith loves to get in front of people. It's just my nature. Missed that. Got to share about what's going on with my community, get to reconnect from the startup people. Missed all of that. I was feeling really gutted. And I felt I was feeling frustration. There was a bit of anger at myself for having missed it and let somebody down. And although I know Graham he held it lightly, we'll get to that. And it wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal for me because I consider myself a person that is committed. If I say I'm gonna be somewhere, I'm gonna be there. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. And to have that slip up really frustrated me. So I had to look at that. And yesterday I looked at it and I said, okay, why did you slip up? Well, you're running 3 businesses, you're trying to work full time, you're saying yes to things. Yeah, maybe we just need to slow it down, recognize that, yeah, you don't want to have this happen more than once, do you? And then I took that, I was like, okay, yeah, I got you, I hear you, Keith, I love you, that's all right. And I went into the room because, before I went into the room, I was frustrated and I was grumpy. All of a sudden, within a second, I became grumpy in my house. I was grumpy dad. And like, stuff was on the floor, I was grumping, picking up stuff on the floor, and I was just like, wait a second. Classic move. Something happens, takes me out of my center, I become grumpy dad. My family has not signed up for this. This is not their problem. I went into my bedroom and I took 5 minutes to do a little mental walkthrough that I highly recommend anybody that ever want to do it. It's neurolinguistic programming, NLP. I went and did a course called The Switch up in Auckland. It changed my life in terms of a really easy way to mentally change how I'm thinking about something. I took myself through a little switch and I walked out the other side of that right back into my center. And really excited that I get to bring it here today to show you that I am totally not perfect. I get out of my center all the time. Yes, I tend to bounce back to this level of bounciness, but that is just, and I'm probably less bouncy because I haven't slept an amazing week this week because my youngest has been sick, but.
I'd like to reflect on a few words that you
Thank
said about how we center ourselves. And you mentioned a super important part that we need to know ourselves, and some people need to have time on their own. So for me, I kind of recoup and charge when I'm by myself doing my own stuff. I love creativity part of it. I go and take photographs. Photographs make me happy. But I really need time on my own. People think that I'm extroverted and then I learn how to behave with other humans, but I really need to spend from 10 minutes to probably 2 hours a day with myself in a closed room with my own music or audio books. And if I don't have it, none of the food or sleep or anything else will help me. So it's super important, but we need to have our priority list, and maybe people around us will kind of reflect on what you say, and each of them can give a story, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share.
Yeah, thank you, Jo.
I'm with you, Lena. So my routine in the morning, actually, the first thing is actually I reflect on myself and the way that I feel and my state, and I get into my I am affirmations. So I need to get into a happy place. So I know that I need to do that for my mindset. So I do that, and I do a bit of meditation. So I'm not dragging it out all morning, but I get up early, like it's 5 o'clock. And then exercise is my go-to. So I'm at the gym, I do my 30-minute workout, I can engage, people can talk to me, and I actually feel alive. And then I feel as though I've done something for myself mentally, but also physically. So I feel like I am fully myself. And at the same time, if I can add value and talk to people and make them feel good about, or share something that I have, done, that fills me up even more so, because then it doesn't just become about me, and then I can carry on with my day. I can write a song. I can do whatever I need to do. That's me. Just a short one.
I wanted to share an idea that I was holding precious to me. I have a lot of ideas. I'm an entrepreneur. I mentioned neurodiversity, dyslexic, ADHD, whatever. You can name it all day, but instead of naming it, I just do it. And I thought I'm going to take an idea to a weekend, I'm going to share it with others, and I'm going to work on it with others. And that is a big growth step for me because I've worked on my ideas by solo for a long, long, long time. I'm going to change that. The weekend was terrible. It was horrible. Saturday night, I was ready to give up entrepreneurship completely. I was like, this is the worst. I'm obviously not an entrepreneur. I don't know what I was kidding myself all of these years. I should just write my play and shut up, and go and do my thing. Yes, never do another business idea. What were you thinking? And I've had this interesting journey with entrepreneurship, which I don't have enough time to say here. But in the weekend, yes, we had this judging where we had the test judges and you had to present, and I did horrible and they raked me over the coals. It was the worst experience. It was just like, I was like bleeding going home on Saturday. Marie asked me, she's like, how did it go? And I was like, horrible. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. This sucks. I don't even want to go back tomorrow. I went back the next day, regained my focus, found my center, found my flow, found my purpose, why I'm here. And when I was in the bathroom before that speech, because right before everybody's lined up, everybody's sitting out here, we're going to start talking, and the words that came into my mind was, Keith, you won the moment you walked in the door. That's when you won. Everything else doesn't matter. I knew what I was going to pitch. I knew my pitch. I knew I was going to get up there, and I know I can talk. And I was like, but you won the moment you walked through the door. And then I got up, did the pitch, it went off, and then I hitched, we won. That was great. And the learning is, you've got to face those fears. And that is number 2 is kind of, will it fail? Facing the questions of and chasing these things. How I got to the idea that I brought to the weekend was I actually found the idea that scared me the most. So I went and I let the fear drag me in, going, okay, I asked to be a mentor of the weekend. Cool, that's right, it feels good, I'm gonna be a mentor, that's awesome. And then I was just like, well, what would be more scary, being a participant or a mentor? Damn! I had to be a participant. That was the first thing. And then I had to come up with an idea to bring. And so I'm looking through all my ideas and I'm trying to create new ideas. I created 3 new things before the weekend thinking I'm going to bring something great. I had to get rid of them all because it was just rubbish. And I had to go with the one that I was afraid to share. I had to go with that one. So I brought that one finally. One time I was doing a coaching session with a woman, and she had this artistic space that she was opening up to the community. People could come and create and do this kind of thing. And throughout the session, she mentioned a few times her real dream, which was to have this creative Airbnb where artists could come and spend a weekend and just really just be creative, stay in her Airbnb, use her studio. And this was her real dream. And by the end of the call, I said to her, you've mentioned this other thing that you're not doing. This is the thing she wasn't doing 3 times. And I said, what about that? Oh, no. That's too precious to me. That was the big thing. That was the thing that if she did it, if it failed, would she lose her worth? Would she lose her value? Would she lose her sense of being? It's scary to have a big dream. I know because I have one. I've been massaging it for a long time. But the truth is, my big dream is doing this. Getting up in front of people, talking, sharing, writing my play, getting on stage, presenting it, performing it, being a public speaker or something like that. What I've experienced through trying these different things is that when I go after something big, there's always something way different on the other side. And it's the 1,000-door analogy that I made up when I was young. I thought, if I knock on one door and I open one door, there's this brilliant thing that happens. You walk through it, there's 1,000 other doors. And you're shit, there's another 1,000 doors. And you walk up to one of them, open it up, you go through another 1,000 doors. And there's this endless opportunities of change. And what's important for me in my life journey is to go, I'm never going to have it all figured out. I'm never going to reach some place where I'm worthy. I'm already worthy. I'm already there. I don't need to get out of bed. Yes, getting out of bed is fun. You should get out of bed. There's lots of things to do. I'm alive, I'm awake, and I feel great. But I am already worthy. I don't need to accomplish anything, have any particular level of money to be well and truly worth it as a person.
I think it comes down to the thyself, is how much you believe in your worth. That's the biggest thing. And it's like, because I think a lot of people have that fear of how people are going to judge them and look at them, but that's where that self-love and your worth. I always have this saying, step into your name, you know, because if you don't step into it, you will never look at yourself, because you're busy looking at everybody else around you, how they see. But it's believing in what you're putting out there, what your creation is, how you think. It's all about.
I would like to hear from one person about fear and overcoming fear. Paul, because he's not only an amazing accountant, but he is also a very interesting sportsman, and he's coaching a team in Christchurch for the bicycle.
Yeah, sure, Southland. Fear, and I'll put my hand up, I'm absolutely guilty of that I probably didn't commit or to the same extent that I needed to when I was, full on racing myself, because I was afraid, and I had invested so much self-worth in being good at sports. So then, if you got an excuse why you failed, then you can mentally get your head around it, rather than going 120% and then what happens, and being okay that you've done all that you can. Whereas now I'm sort of mentoring a group of guys, and what we're trying to do is create an environment and give them the opportunity so that they can give their 120%. So if we get a result, we get a result. If there's someone that's better on the day, there's nothing that we can do about it. So when it comes back to that individual piece, it's being able to reset and go and do what you can. And there's a quote that I've always quite liked, and it's success is saying along the lines of, success is not what you achieve, it's what you do with what you have.
Yeah.
So everyone's starting at different starting points. There can be someone that gets every ounce out of what they can do versus someone that's ridiculously talented but is lazy and squanders the gifts. And we can't be all on 120% of our time. You've got to be kind to yourself when things don't go your way, but however you get to the point, whether it's NLP or using any other tool, the ability to reset and go again and handle disappointment is incredibly powerful, because otherwise we're stuck holding on to things, and whether that's within a day today or whether it's something that happened 20 years ago, whatever the blockage is, it's still a blockage, and that's impacting on our ability to have joy in the moment and live life to the fullest.
I totally agree. Being resourceful makes you so much stronger. And sometimes it's the resources, your skills, and sometimes it's the connections you have, like having a community of fun that supports you. It's really cool.
Just one thing that I've used recently is, one, I do try to stay in my center, right? And somebody actually projected onto me a couple weeks back, a couple months back actually, and they said, why are you still holding on to Powerco? You just need to drop that job and go out and just be your thing and do your thing. And I'm thinking, man, you're projecting all over me and this is uncomfortable. And I actually have a plan. There's a strategy behind what I'm doing, and it's thoughtful. I've got kids, I've got a mortgage, and I'm pretty happy with all of that right now. And I'm going to work full time. I'm cutting back. I'm getting this day off I get to spend in community and get to pretend that I'm an entrepreneur. Pretend? Isn't that any, like what is doing it anyways? What is it? So just have fun, follow where the things excite me. And when I'm getting to parts where I don't know what to do, I grab a coin and I flip it. Heads or tails. Do I show everybody the results as they're voting today? Or do I hide it from them? The coin decided that, because it didn't matter. But I'm not, like, as I waste less time on deciding things, but making sure I spend a lot of time making sure I don't toss my amazing job out the window. You know, just being realistic with myself and staying in my center and not making decisions when I'm out of my center. Because if I make decisions when I'm not in my center, the result will not be in my center. One of the things that you mentioned, which inspired me, is on number 3, which is vulnerability as a strength and how to embrace it and use it. Well, like for me, just the act of vulnerability. Yeah, so it's like even over a coffee when I haven't met somebody yet, and I'm just meeting them, and I can tell them honestly how my day is actually going. Or in the men's bathroom at a campsite, and someone, you know, saying, "Hey, how you going, mate?" And I was like, "I'm not doing well." And he stopped, and we talked, and I was able to share vulnerably about the complicated thing that was happening in my caravan with 5 people, including my parents. It becomes the strength because it lets down the barrier for me. So it is a tricky one, because with vulnerability, you need to practice and you need to be conscious of how you're feeling and not, there's some safeguards that I'm not that guy.
So that's like pulling on people's strengths, right?
Yeah.
So when exactly what you were saying, and I do that because I work in education, but you know, I'm a performer, and when it comes to music and production, you know, I pull on my son because he's fantastic. He's got an amazing ear, and he's helped me get through recording and production and just going those extra levels. But he's taught me a lot too. So, but I still don't want to do that job because he can just like go bang, 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 pick it out, and that's what I love. You know.
And it's like being in a band. Like there is always a person, a drums person with an amazing guitar. There's a solo person, and if one person tries to do the whole band job, it wouldn't be the same, right?
Yeah.
It would be some performance, but it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
The next topic I have on the list was hold it lightly. And I love this one because it's a simple mental tool. And hold it lightly is the concept of what I want you to do with me all in your minds is all put out your hands in your minds. You can do it in reality if you want. But there's a little fluffy little chick, okay, in your hands right now. Very cute, very fluffy, very yellow. Yellow is me. And this little fluffy chick can represent so many things in our life, right? And it can be a good thing or it can be a challenging thing. And in life, the invitation is to hold that chick lightly and carry it for however long you need to carry it. And so if it is something that is very challenging to you, your wife is giving you a hard time about not taking out the compost, I can squeeze that little chick. Or I could just gently put the compost, and the chick would jump off and scuttle away. But same thing about my dreams, about this play that I'm working on. I could suffocate that poor play and put all of my energy, my mental energy, all of my strength, all of my worry, all onto this little play. Instead, I could just hold it lightly. And so for me, I often think about the little chick. And I think, how am I holding this? Whether it's good or challenging or whatever it is, am I holding it lightly and just allowing it to be? And the joy at work and thriving at our day jobs. Working with whatever we're doing, even if it's our own work, thriving in that space and being positive in that space, I think is really important. And not making it toxic for ourselves is extremely important. working in a corporate office, there's a lot of people I hear like, oh, they just want to get out of the 9 to 5, get out of the rat race. Instead, what I've done with it, and I've done this since 14 years old, was the first day at the paper cut. I had a blue apron and I swept the floors in the entranceway, and the lady who was at the cash register said, ha ha ha, your first day sweeping the floors, that's cute. You won't be doing that tomorrow. When I was 16, I was her manager. I kept sweeping the floors. I didn't stop. I enjoy that learning, that process. In my day job now, I look for the things that I need to do better at, because if I'm doing it for somebody else, I'm going to do the same for me, the same level at which I work for someone else, same quality of which work I do is going to be for myself. It doesn't mean that if you're stuck in a job that it doesn't align with your values, that you should put all your effort into it and try to make it work. No, you should actually strategically get yourself out of that spot. But there is something around making the best out of the work. That's my experience. So over here, we're going to have some people, right? And there we go. There's our people. These people live over here. Yes, they work. And this person lives over here. But I want to talk to you about this person, because this person here, they had some funds from their parents. It was really nice of their parents to leave them a bunch of cash. And then they got a big corporate job. They bought themselves a fancy car because the car they really wanted. They felt that really spoke to them. And then they get recognized in their community for something they've done. They started building this gigantic house, and this house is beautiful, amazing, exactly what they wanted, every detail. You got 3 people. They're worth. Who's worth more? That one. Okay. I heard equal.
Positions-wise, probably that one.
Position-wise, so we're thinking of different. What's coming out is I haven't defined worth. And so when we think of what it means to be human worth. Stephanie Harrison, the author of the new Happy book, which I have written a play about, she talks a lot about worth. And one of the central differences between her perception of old happy and new happy is about how we define it. Old happy, we're thinking about worth here. Your worth is something you earn by achieving, proving, pleasing, comparing, and it's conditional. You're only enough if you meet this measurement that you've taken on, you've accepted from society. The other idea over here could very well, these people living in here could have that same old happy behavior, but when we put them all in the middle here, we're talking about a new happy idea, and this is your worth is inherent. You're already worth it. You don't have to do anything today to be worth it, to be better. I don't have to write the play. I don't have to do any of the businesses. I'm doing those now because they give me energy and it's fun for me. It's what makes me alive in the day. It makes me happy to chase these fun little things and do them. Not because I'm going to be rich. They're not going to make me any better. I ride a freaking bicycle to work. I don't need a Maserati. I used to want a Maserati. Our worth is inherent. It comes from simply being human. You are valuable because you exist. Nothing you do or fail to do can add to or take away your human worth. True happiness comes from when, and this is her opinion, she often projects quite a bit in her book. I've talked to her about this. Stop trying to earn your worth and instead share it by using your unique gifts. My unique gifts. I'm crazy. I love sharing the shit that I got in me. Y'all want it? Y'all come and knock on my door because my door is open. All right? So if you want to get into this crazy brain and leverage some of these skills, Alina knows it. I'm open. I'm here to chat, here to share. These are my unique gifts, and I'm already worth it. So I can just dish them out. Time is limited. By using your unique gifts in service for others, Self-acceptance is a starting point, not an end goal. Okay? Starting point. Loving yourself, getting good with yourself. I hope that is one thing we can take away today. Sorry, do you want a cookie? Thank you guys.
Thank you everyone for coming today. It was such a privilege to hear our main facilitator Keith Delmar and actually all of you, because we learn together, we go through the hardships and winning and achievements together, and we learn from each other and from our experience. And I believe that we learn through playing games. That's why the concept of business games was born.